The history of horror started hundreds and hundreds of years ago. The fascination with the macabre and other such unsultry things has always been popular.
It's like spicy food. You know it's going to be an unpleasant experience, but the rush you get after the Armageddon in your mouth has subsided is quite addicting. With horror movies and TV shows and games, it's almost the same. You should only have that kind of feeling when you lose your wallet, or you can't find your phone, or you're being murdered in an alley. So to have a way to simulate that fear without being murdered in an alley and being comfy at home, I do see the appeal. From afar. From very afar. If you choose to feel like you're dying in your spare time for no reason, then that's your business. But me, I feel worse enough as it is without any of that, so I don't see why I'd put myself through it. But there are games out there that, while still horror games, do give you an edge over the madness of the scares and the spooks. So this is my top 5 games to play if you would like to play horror games but are too scared to jump into a crazy one. That title really needs work.
Number 5!
So we're really dipping our toe in with this one. We're at the very beginning of the spectrum. But you're in a haunted mansion with ghosts, making Luigis Mansion technically a horror game. Look, Game Boy horror. Don't argue with me. The writing's on the wall. If by the wall you mean the Game Boy that says Game Boy horror. So as you can imagine, if you've never played a game with a bit of spook before, consider this your tutorial to the tutorial, as chances are the only thing you're in danger of is being charmed to death. You are Luigi. Hello. Your brother, who we won't name, has gone missing, so you come to this mansion to find him. You quickly come to realise that the mansion is inhabited with ghosts, and you will have to vanquish them with your super mega vacuum. This thing, it's a hoover, essentially. A hoover for ghosts. You basically just point it at them and make sure they don't get out of your grasp, and then the counter counts to 0, and you've got them! Success! With that, you'll also be solving puzzles and hunting out some secrets. I always find I connect with games that have you set in just one area, and you find yourself able to go deeper and deeper in this certain area with items or puzzles that you unlock. It really gives you that sense of entrapment as you get to know the place, and that mystery that's there, as there's usually something about the place that is mysterious. The lighting and atmosphere is dark and drab, and instead of jump scares, it more relies on the ever so slight tension that's created by the environment and the level design, and if you're not convinced, at some point you have to fight a dead baby. So there's that. What the fuck? Now, I probably should have chosen Luigi's Mansion 3, as it's probably the most accessible, with it coming out on the Switch last year, but I haven't actually played it, so I can't in good conscience recommend it. That would be unethical on a multitude of levels. But yeah, you can get that one too if you want. But the original is still fun, and it's super short if you fancy a solid afternoon of ghost busting.
Number 4!
Deadlight, or Deadlight Director's Cut, is a side-scrolling horror platformer set in a post-zombie apocalypse in the 1980s. Post-zombie apocalypse? Is that right? Zombie post-apocalypse. One of them. It's definitely after the world has ended and there's zombies everywhere, so just... It's that one. Now, you've probably heard this concept before, but you have to survive the undead through parkour, puzzle solving, and bullets to the head. Their heads, not yours. Although, if you're not careful, that could happen too, I suppose. Being a 2D side-scroller, it slightly alleviates some of the tension that comes with a 3D zombie game, since you only have to focus on 4 points of attack. But that doesn't mean the game isn't a challenge, as with the simplicity of 2D comes a developer's responsibility to deliver an experience that's still going to make you regret coming to this zombie-laden land. This means that you'll be trying to unblock exits, or solving puzzles while zombies loom closer, or you'll be walking along and blah! Ground zombies! You'll find yourself dying more often than not due to the pressure of solving these puzzles or underground gauntlets with mashy spike plates. Not to say that the shambling masses won't give you a hard time, and when it comes to it, you have weapons at your disposal for melee attacks, and you'll get access to a trusty gun, but not many trusty bullets. Luckily, a lot of the interactions can be avoided, and you also have a whistle to distract, not a physical whistle like a mouth whistle, the whistle you do with your fingers whistle. Like Luigi's Mansion, it's about 4 to 5 hours long, so you can be in and out in an afternoon and come away with a generally satisfying experience that won't have you twitching in the dark.
Number 3!
Have you ever been watching a horror movie and you get really annoyed when the characters make really dumb decisions? Well, what if you played a game where you got to make those dumb decisions? Until Dawn is an interactive experience that plays out like a horror show. The story is even split into chapters that between them recaps like it's a TV series, and even starts with its own opening credits. I always think it's really funny when a game tries to convince you that it's anything but a game. So this starts like your average cliched horror slasher. There's a group of people in a house, in the woods, shenanigans ensue. This is a good game to play for the fright impaired because even though it has plenty of jump scares and can be quite tense, the game has a heavy emphasis on putting you in control. The crux of the action has you completing quick time events, making quick choices like left or right, safe pathway or quick pathway. Do you want to kill a bird? And sometimes even has moments where you need to hold the controller still, otherwise, I don't know, you're not going to be able to feed the squirrel properly or something. They seem to have put a lot into the mocap and character models too, since they want you to stare at these poor people when they're screaming for their lives. Throughout the game you can pick these things up called totems, which turn you into precogs from the Minority Report. Just realised how old that reference is. They give you a vague glimpse into the future of certain events, some of which may lead to a character's death, so you'll have to figure out when it's happening and when to make the right choice. It's got a lot of twists and turns, and with the option to absolutely decimate everyone, or if you actually want to beat the game, you can make it to the end with everyone still intact, if you want a challenge. If you're like me though, I'm all about that story arc. So when, in the story, it felt like it was reaching a certain point, although your natural instinct in a game is to save that person, occasionally I just lean into it and kill off the poor bugger. Oh my god, I was the monster all along.
Number 2!
So many things can be said about The Last of Us. This video could easily turn into a whole video about how good the game is. The Last of Us transcended what video games can be. Its incredible story, characters and acting completely overwhelm and immerse you in an experience that will leave you thinking about this game for years. In Deadlight, or Deadlight Director's Cut, I said the reason it's good for players who can't handle horror is because it was a side-scroller, which limits the danger you'll find in a 3D zombie game. But even though The Last of Us is in a 3D world with all kinds of danger coming at you from all kinds of angles, while it has jump scares and horrifying visuals and incredibly tense situations that will leave you emotionally exhausted, I could barely consider this a horror game, regardless of the fact that it is. Because the journey of Joel and Ellie is so captivating and so well done, it will put you in a state of mind that has you putting your head down and driving through what would otherwise be an unbearable, horrific experience. Also, you can see to the conclusion of this story. While linear in its scope, it still has environments that are relatively open to explore, with documents that flesh out the world as well as resources to upgrade your equipment and skills. The enemies range from a number of escalating infected hosts to gangs of humans who have given themselves over to the horrors of the new world, forcing you to ask the question, who's the real monster here? It's humans. It's always humans. People are the worst. But more times than not, you'll have the option to stealth your way through a lot of the encounters. And if things go sideways, or if you just want to play like you've got nothing to lose, you'll have a large choice of weapons to blow the poor bastards away.
Number 1!
Now, this might be a tough sell, but bear with me, because this is going off my experience. This list is the experience of mine. This was the first survival horror game that I ever played, that I was able to play, because overall I found horror games just generally a bad time, and still do. But I can still go back to this game and it's still a good time because it has enough there where it's just not crippling fear and anxiety. I remember when Dead Space first came out and I saw a trailer and I told myself, no! But then Dead Space 2 came out and seeing it had a little bit more emphasis on action, even I thought, maybe. Eventually, I gave in and decided that I wanted to give it a go. The problem is, Dead Space 2 is a direct sequel that requires you to have knowledge of the first game, if you really want to get it. Now sure, I could just Google the plot if I'm a loser, but I decided it was time to jump into a survival horror game, and not throw it out the window after an hour, which is what I tend to do with all of the horror games that I look at. Stranded on a broken down space vessel, after an incident that leads the majority of its crew to be either killed or turned into these mutated monsters called necromorphs, you play a lowly engineer who finds himself needing to, 1, find a way out of this hell ship, but also to find his wife, who was among the crew. You'll be managing your inventory and making your way through the ship, solving its many problems to escape the tormented halls of gangly madness. Like Luigis Mansion or Luigis Mansion Director's Cut, the whole game is set in one environment, the USG Ishimura. You get to know its body-filled corridors and the history of what happened, giving you that need to explore just a little bit more than maybe you're comfortable with, so you can get a better grasp on the events that led you to be there. The reason it's on the list, because I know that it doesn't sound like it should be, but hear me out, a lot of survival horror games have you in the same scenarios, making your way through areas, managing your inventory, don't die. In fact, that's all of them. But where Dead Space succeeds is taking this tried and true concept and making it just a little bit more approachable. You don't have standard weapons and you're not a soldier, but what you do have is your trusty engineering tools, most notably your plasma cutter, presumably used to cut pipes or something. I don't know what engineers do. And as it just so happens, these hulking limb-filled bastards don't care about bullets to the body or even headshots. What they don't like is being dissected by, oh I don't know, a gun that shoots plasma blades. Oh what a crazy random happenstance, I just so happen to have die. Not that that's even your only option, you'll get to know a wide variety of limb-slicing gadgets, including one called the Ripper. It's fun. And ammo isn't exactly sparse. You'll have boxes, cabinets and storage containers filled with all your needs, and failing that, if you give these suckers an extra stomp, they spit out some extra goodies. Jump scares are aplenty, but you will find yourself semi-predicting when they're going to jump out at you, hopefully. Plus, when they do show up unexpectedly out of your view, they're almost always accompanied by a sound beat, which while followed by a few seconds of terror, gives you ample time to case the room. And a quick turn will show this slowly running Gangle. Ah, look at him go. Here he comes. I wouldn't recommend laughing at him too much though, as they do get sensitive and will break out into a full sprint. So just take out his legs and your choice of limbs and that sucker will be good to go. Or to not go. He's not going anywhere now, not with those stumps. So while definitely the scariest on the list, it's absolutely approachable enough for someone who isn't up to, I don't know, Resident Evil. Plus the fact that it came out in 2008 means the graphics aren't amazing. They're not, you know, Resident Evil. And if you do manage to beat it, I do recommend going on to Dead Space 2 and 3, as those sequels do kind of veer off into the more action-based gameplay. Here's a chart showing where Dead Space 1, 2 and 3 rate on the action to horror scale. I definitely didn't make anything there. There's nothing there. Maybe some text just saying that this is stupid. Really set myself up for that one. So that's my list for people like us who want to play horror games but are too rubbish to play them. I hope this helped. Maybe this Halloween go out and play Luigis Mansion, the scariest of all the games. I tricked you! It's actually really creepy. Show the dead baby again. So this month I'm going to be trying to bring out a video every week. The first time I've attempted anything like this, but I'm giving it a go. So throughout October, every Saturday I'm looking to release a video, some of which I'll just be playing games, some of which I'll be doing reviews. So if you could subscribe, like, stick around, only if you want to. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to beg. I won't. You can't make me. Please.
But until next time. Subscribe.